Hey, y'all. Welcome to Crosspolitic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. We are live at AmFest 2025. It's great to be with everyone here. And, of course, I got Pastor Toby. This time, Knox is out. He actually went to a wedding. Friend, he's at a wedding.
Sometimes you go to a wedding when you're at AmFest.
Yeah, you do a wedding. And I was invited, and I told David I couldn't go. But
some of us have priorities.
David had a plate there for me. He was really nice about it and everything. So
I did not get invited. Yeah. Thanks, David.
So, well, your plane got suspended or delayed, whatever. So we're here with the CEO of Old Glory Bank. Actually, apparently you're a former lawyer, but would love to welcome you to the show, Mark.
Still a lawyer. It's Mike Ring.
Still a lawyer. You don't like leave that. Kind of abandon that.
Doesn't leave you. You leave it, but I haven't yet.
Okay, so very good. So you guys, you're the CEO of Old Glory Bank, and knowing the regulation, knowing the challenges of starting a bank, you guys actually bought.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we saw coming out of 2020, remember, it wasn't that long ago, 5 years ago, what that looked like, the Summer of Love. Do we all remember the Summer of Love?
Yeah, it was so lovey.
And we got to a point where if you had the flag on your front lawn, you were being persecuted and yelled at. If you wore a cross, you were a heathen, and it was a completely different world. And so we came out of that, and a dear friend of mine, a client of mine, I had little success as a lawyer for 30 years.
Okay.
And a client of mine said to me, we've got to start a pro-America bank because the debanking is real. And we've been talking about debanking for 5 years.
Yes.
They have been debanking Christians and people who believe in this country, and everyone thought we were crazy.
Right.
And now the big banks are acknowledging it, but what they say is the regulators made them do it, and I'm telling you, we'll talk more about it. It's not the regulators, it's the big banks.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so I had never done banking, and I just said, that's a big idea. His name is Eric Oldhausen. He's here today. Eric, if you're around, come by and say hello. And I said, that's a big idea, but I've got a lot going on. Kids about to go to college, and I'm 60.
Sounds high risk.
Yeah, I was, and you can't really just start a bank. And so
right.
I said, and then January 6th happened, which, no one's proud of. But what happened in America after January 6th and the way the government started taking away people's financials, the way they went after Trump, they canceled his accounts, they canceled Lindell's accounts, they canceled a bunch of Americans' accounts for doing nothing but believing what we believe in.
They canceled Trump's?
Oh, yeah.
What bank?
Chase Bank canceled Trump.
No,
he's talked about this publicly. It's not.
Wow.
I forgot. I knew Stripe had canceled some.
Capital One. Eric.
Okay.
You can read Eric Trump's book.
Okay.
That Capital One canceled them. Bank of America would not take his business.
Wow.
And people said it wasn't real, but it is real. So we saw it. Instead of just sitting around and talking about it, I said, this is what God wants me to do at this moment.
Yeah.
I've never run a bank, had no interest in running a bank, but this is what I've got to do. And so...
your friends were like, we need a lawyer to do this.
Yeah, exactly. and I'm just... And if I knew then what I knew now, I would have never done it. Because it is so freaking hard to run a bank and deal with the regulatory and deal with just running a bank. And the fraudster is a very tough business. And so I realized that I can't get the word out by myself. I'm just not a very good looking lawyer. And so I said, what can we do to go get the right people to be our partners? And so through God's blessing, we got in front of Secretary Ben Carson. He immediately signed up to be one of our co-founders. John Rich, Larry Elder, Sean Spicer was an early investor. He's since joined our board, the great Sean Spicer. Mary Governor Fallon is part of it. And so we quickly raised the money that we needed to start a bank. Yeah. And then we went to go
to buy a bank. It's not just start.
Start.
Because it's different from...
Started is starting. Listen.
Yeah, so we raised the money to start a bank, and we said, okay, now what do we do? Do we start from scratch, and it's called a de novo bank, or do we get a charter, which is buy an existing bank? And we made the decision, great question, to buy a charter. And we wanted to be in a reliably red state.
Yes.
So Oklahoma. And there were no banks for sale in Oklahoma. So we got in our Sprinter van on January 2nd of 2022, after we had raised the money in 2021 and put the plan together, and drove across the country and knocked on 3 doors that were banks for not for sale. But one was in Elmore City, Oklahoma, the bank we ended up buying. I knocked on the door, got a meeting with the owner, who was a nice, great lawyer in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Blake Christensen sat with him. He said, "Ring the bank's not for sale. You city slickers always come and try our bank. It's not for sale. It's been our family for a long time, not for sale." I said, "Blake, give me 30 minutes. God has a plan for us together." 30 minutes, we made a deal, bought the bank.
Wow.
He then took some of the money, invested it back into our new bank called Old Glory Bank. It used to be First State. And then he's been on our board ever since. And I was walking out. I knew if we were going to buy a bank in Oklahoma, I wanted the great Mary Fallon, the first female governor, brilliant, great conservative, used to be on the Republicans governor board.
Okay.
First two-time woman, two-term lieutenant governor, congresswoman. And I was walking out and I see a picture of the Governor Fallon in his conference room. And I said, do you know Governor Fallon? And he said, you mean Governor Fallon Christensen? She's married to my brother. And I'm like,
amazing.
This is what God has intended.
Yeah.
So then we put together the best tech stack, got through regulatory approval, which in 2022 was not easy with the Biden administration.
Yeah, right.
And then we launched the service. It takes 8 minutes to open an account at Old Glory Bank. And unlike the big banks, we actually love our customers.
Oh, man. You know,
Is Old Glory Bank just in Oklahoma?
So we have one branch in Oklahoma, but we serve customers in all 50 states because we have the best online solution.
Oh.
Including, let's think of a simple thing. Everything you do in a bank today, walk in,
on
you
your
do
phone.
on your phone, except deposit cash.
Yeah.
So this is another just a great story.
so I just take a picture of my cash and deposits, but I get to keep the cash too.
So we had to solve for this. So we're literally in Oklahoma after some regulatory meetings, and we're up at the stockyards having an adult beverage, and my chief innovation officer is with me, and we're talking to the server, and he says, what are you in town for? And we tell him, and he says, well, I'd love to bank with you, but as a server, I get tips and I get cash, and I don't want to drive down to Elmer City.
Right.
And I literally hit my innovation guy against the head and said, solve this. 2 weeks he came back with Old Glory Cash In. Old Glory Bank is one of the only places on the planet you can walk into one of 88,000 locations. Every Walmart, every Walgreens, our truckers can walk into every Pilot and Love's and deposit cash. So
Really?
So Chase Bank, Big Bad Chase Bank, has 5,000 locations. We have 88,000 locations because of our partners, CVS, and all those locations.
Wow.
So we have solved the last issue with banking online.
Yeah, because for guys like me, I'm 46, so we're a little older. I mean, the cash deposit not as big of a deal for us. Although every once in a while, someone gives me $1,000 of cash, and I gotta okay, I guess I gotta go into the bank. I gotta go in the bank.
Well, now you're gonna walk into a Walmart and deposit in Old Glory Bank.
Interesting.
Wow.
That's helpful. So, for me, just run you through my life and get your advice for free because you're a lawyer and you're a banker.
And
I'm get financial and legal advice. So the banking system for me has been frustrating for a long time. I mean, and also it's been frustrating because the government regulates it so much.
Over-regulates.
I remember I used to not have to give my social security number to open a bank account. And in fact, I did this with Wells Fargo, 2099, something like that. And I knew the laws. I was like, no, I don't got to give you a social security number. And they opened the account.
Yeah.
And then in 10 years later.
2 years later, 2001, 9/11.
Whatever it was, I remember. No, I checked on this. But this is what I mean. It was 10 years later. I went to the bank and they gave me your account number, and I was like, I can't remember it or something like that. And then what about your? And they said, well, give me your social security number. And I was like, no, I never gave the bank that. And then
armed guards come out, tackle you.
Well, no, they looked up my social security. I said, I'll give it to you anyways, just see if this works. And it did.
Yeah.
Oh, they had it.
They had it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I never
goodness.
gave it to them, and they pulled it together. And I had 2 or 3 accounts with them at that time. By that time, and it was just I was frustrated.
Yeah. I actually testified about this, as I was blessed to testify in front of Senator Tim Scott. He did a committee on debanking last February, and I got in there, and everyone's talking about debanking. I was the only one telling the truth, actually name checking all the big banks that had canceled conservatives and Christians.
Right, because they were dodging the question or whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
They were so weak. And then I even talked about the exact issue you're talking. The way the big banks and the evil banks get away with canceling you is they rely on something called the Bank Secrecy Act. It's a law that dates back to early 90s, but it got really strengthened after 2001, 9/11 in 2001. And now Bank Secrecy Act has nothing to do with your secrets, has nothing to do with your bank customer data, has everything to doing that big government makes banks spy on you through the Bank Secrecy Act. Now, we push back on it all the time. And
through the Patriot Act?
100%. They strengthen the Bank Secrecy Act.
Wow.
And thankfully, now the Republican Senate is looking at it fresh, because this is one of the ways that the big banks debank you. They say, oh, listen, you're at risk of any type of crime. Pick something.
They consider you a threat to national security.
100%.
Because you're a Christian, you're pro-life.
And you got money.
And you have money.
And if you think about some of the biggest crimes happening in this country, did the Bank Secrecy Act stop Madoff? Of course not. Did it stop Epstein? Of course not. Does it stop all these kids? And all these
Did
drug
it stop
pushers?
Biden?
No, of course not. And,
Right.
and so it's a ruse. And I said right in front of the Senate, it's a Trojan horse. It's what the regulators and the big banks use to debank someone they don't like. They say, we can't tell you what it is, but it has something to do with the Bank Secrecy Act. And it's all a facade.
Wow.
So I openly push back about it. I'm asking for it to be amended because, listen, there is very little money laundering actually happening. Like our customers are not sending money to Iran,
Right.
but they use it the wrong way every day.
I remember during 2020 and following, you remember the Canadian trucker convoy.
That was one of our inspirations.
Yeah, because I think that was the moment that like we were doing live coverage of the trucker convoy.
That's right.
And interviewing people on the ground that were involved. And then as the Canadian government started seizing assets,
Including Bitcoin.
of these truckers.
The only thing they could do is get that debit card.
And that was the thing I think that was really, really eye-opening to me was, I knew like persecution was happening in the States, but when you saw that happening in Canada, you're like, what's going to stop them? What's going to stop them from doing the same thing to us?
Exactly what we said, Pastor, and we wanted to do something more than just talk about it. So we literally put our lives on hold to build this bank, and we've been very blessed with our growth.
So what makes this bank, other than the fact that you and a bunch of your friends own it, what makes this bank different?
Right. So that's a great question. In fact, 6,600 of our friends own it. We're one of the few banks that have opened it up to Main Street.
Oh, really?
So that you can own it. And it was very...
Can I buy in?
100%.
Yes.
And it was very important for us to do that. We wanted it to be... You can imagine if you could buy in the early days of Tesla or...
Yeah.
And so because I was a securities lawyer for 30 years, I knew how to do it. One of the few people knew how to do it. In fact, we have a very big announcement coming soon, so hold that thought.
Okay.
So insider trading, should I buy now?
Definitely do not. So what makes us different, Pastor, is that we cover the basics. We have the best product, and customer service. We have a call center from 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday in Durant, Oklahoma, not offshore.
Yes.
People will pick up the phone, love America, love what you believe in.
Yes.
But you've got to have the best products. Like you go on and you watch TV of Capital One and all these goofball big banks who don't care about Main Street. And they brag about having free accounts and free overdrafts. Like, we launched with that. If you use your debit card, you can go online and see where you were when you spent it to make sure it was you.
Yeah.
We have something like the truckers. If you remember, GoFundMe was a part of that.
Oh, yes.
Right.
I got no love for GoFundMe.
Yeah. Love my people. Go Gifts and Go.
Yeah.
They're very good people.
Yes.
But we have a competitor called Old Glory Lines for that reason. And so we have Old Glory Protect. We're actually, our booth is way at the end by all the protectors. If you're any type of law enforcement, including federal law enforcement, if you're military, any branch, firefighter, EMS, Border Patrol, and you bank with Old Glory Bank, God forbid you die in the line of duty serving our country, we show up at your house and give you $100,000.
Wow.
100%. We're the only one who even thinks about it. Everyone talks about it. No one does it.
Yeah.
Is everybody leaving us? Where are they all going?
No, there's someone more popular than us
Not
coming over there, and it's a meet and greet.
like Erica Trump.
They're
Not popular?
going in to hear Erica Trump.
Oh, is it going in?
They're going into Erica Trump over us.
Over us. It's 4:30, so she must be coming on stage.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what it is.
All right.
Well, there we go. We keep going. Old Glory Bank. So
8 minutes to open an account. Business. We have home loans, business loans.
I remember Minnesota canceling Lindell. Wasn't it? It was a state bank.
Yep. Canceled him.
I remember Trump specifically mentioning, I think, Bank of America.
100%.
Yep.
Well, Chase actually canceled him. He wanted to go open an account at Moynihan, and he said it beautifully on CNBC. I'm going to have to use a swear word, so I apologize in advance. He says, Brian Moynihan used to kiss my ass when I was in the president. Now that I'm out, they won't take my business. And it was true. They wouldn't.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, so you have all this cancel culture. I remember, just real quick, our short story here. We started Crosspolitic in 2016. The whole point of...
I'm surprised you haven't been canceled by your bank.
Well, that's...
Yes, we are too.
Hang on here. We started Crosspolitic in 2016. The specific goal in my lifetime, I was never taught how to apply the Bible to politics because, politics and faith was taboo, right? And so I knew there was a gap in my biblical literacy regarding politics and culture. I knew other people had that same gap. So we started Crosspolitic with specific mission and goal to proclaim Jesus and teach people how to apply the Bible to politics and culture. That was 2016. God's been kind. By the time I think 2018 rolled around, we were on DirecTV and Dish, and then cancel culture had already started in about 2016. There had already been people, not just banking. I'm not even talking about banking now. There had already been people I've seen start getting pushed out and canceled and so forth. I saw Stripe starting to do some cancel culture. He canceled Trump's accounts. We did a show in 2020, of course, COVID. You said ivermectin on YouTube and you were done. You were done, right?
Demonetized.
Yeah, all that stuff. And so we got canceled or suspended something like 20 times by YouTube.
Oh wow, that's a badge of honor. You should put up 20s.
We should, yeah. And then Vimeo. Here's the weirdest cancel thing for us. Vimeo. We had a 6-year contractual relationship with Vimeo. Vimeo was a platform that hosted our videos to our private Protect Club member experience. So it wasn't public videos. We did this interview with Naomi Wolf. I don't know if you know who Wolf is. She was basically a Jewish liberal who kind of woke up during COVID. And we did an interview with her. Well, then we went backstage, which is that password protect experience. We went to backstage and we started talking about, with Naomi, Biden's connection to China. The next day, I got an email from Vimeo saying, hey, you violated our terms and services so bad that we've canceled your account with us and you can never return.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
I'm framing it. I'm shortening it, but that's what he said. And they didn't like give us a warning. They didn't. We weren't uploading porn on Vimeo.
We use Vimeo. I'm going to change that tomorrow.
You 100% should. Yeah, no.
I had no idea.
And so I responded to the email. I was like, we had a 6-year relationship with us, and you guys gave us no warning. Not even a warning. It's just like bam, and it wasn't even
or like take down the show or something,
Right.
something like that. But there was no explanation at all.
It just shows you how weak people are, isn't
100%.
it?
And I had a friend who was friends with the CEO. He reached out to her and she said, yeah, we canceled their account.
Oh my goodness.
And then so I asked Vimeo, I was like, how do I get 6 years of my content back? And so they replied and gave me an Excel spreadsheet for each video to download.
Oh my goodness.
6 years of downloads
Oh my goodness.
that we had to do from Vimeo. So we've been hit by cancel culture, and I've always been concerned about banking.
Well, you can open an account in 8 minutes, and,
well,
and now you know the CEO.
I got a couple questions to follow up there in just a second. I've always been concerned about banking. And then we saw the trucker thing that Toby just already mentioned. But, I mean, deep banking is like the easiest way to get you.
Well, I've always said once they take payments and banking, they win and we lose. And if Trump had not won,
What kind of payments do you mean?
digital
ACH,
payments,
ACH payments, whatever.
I'm more worried about PayPal and Zelle. And,
Yep.
Like if you remember,
We had friends get kicked off PayPal.
well, you still cannot walk in and buy ammunition with PayPal. It's ridiculous. It says right in the terms and services. And so like if you remember after January 6th, the government worked with the big banks to see who stayed in DC for that 3-day period, who bought firearms in the last 6 months. And it's not like this is just made up. You can see the emails in the back of Jim Jordan's report that he put out last March. It is disturbing. And so we said that once they take, and they proved it in Canada, once they take payments and you can't move, because can't handle cash, so moving payments back and forth, which is why we have a product called Old Glory Pay. It's our version of PayPal. It's closed loop.
Wow,
and
that's great.
Yeah,
Great.
but here's the future. And we've already been talking about this, and it's coming in Q1. This is not the big insider thing I was telling you about. We've been talking about this. The true pathway to financial freedom is decentralized finance. And listen, I'm not. If you want to buy and hold Bitcoin or buy and hold these other assets, remember that is an asset. But remittances with stablecoin is the future of is my view is the future of freedom. A stablecoin is backed dollar for dollar. And the new Genius Act, thankfully, has a solution to make sure that and only banks and certain regulated entities can do a stable coin. But when I give you a Old Glory Bank USD, which is we're launching next quarter, when you know it's backed by $1 in an account, either in cash or 90-day treasury, so you know it will not change in value. Unlike Bitcoin is like gold. It goes up and down. It's like land. It's an asset. Money is...
But gold shouldn't be an asset.
It should be an... It
Yeah.
shouldn't...
It shouldn't be an asset.
Well, the reason it's... Unless you're...
Kevin Freeman was just on.
Yeah.
TBN right there.
They'd have to tokenize it because people don't want to carry around gold and bullion, so they'd have to tokenize it,
Yeah,
which I think is a thing.
Yeah.
But this is why we're so bullish, because right now, every time you send a check of wire or ACH, the Federal Reserve has a record of it. If you're doing nothing wrong, they have a record of it. Every time you use your debit card or your credit card, either MasterCard, Visa, or American Express, has a record of it, and you could do nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And so the only way to avoid that is do remittances through stable coins.
So
And
they know what church you tied to.
100%.
Oh, that's
yeah. Now listen, if you buy a firearm, that's one thing. But if you buy ammunition or unregulated accessories, PayPal should not be able to say no. The credit card should not be able to say no. The government should not have that information. I'm sorry. And the only way to avoid that going forward is decentralized finance with stable coins, and we have the best product coming out.
So you can do that. You can do that through
Old Glory Bank
banking.
coming in March, April next year. We're building it all now.
2026.
Yep. The next quarter.
Wow.
So I'm slow on the finance side of things. So what Bitcoin you're basically defining as an asset.
Yeah, I think it's an
roughly.
asset, meaning it was never intended. If you go back and read Satoshi's first paper, it was never intended to be a complete solution.
I think it was Elon Musk that did this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
for quick, yeah, it'd be fun to know who it is. For quick remittances. Now,
Right.
they've certainly improved the blockchain so that you could do it quicker, but I still believe it's an asset you hold for
Yeah.
appreciation and a hedge against inflation.
Okay, so and then stable coin is what you're calling
Is
it.
intended to be money.
Yep.
It's
And
digital dollars.
Actual
It's-
currency.
100%.
So why? I guess I don't understand the difference between, let's say, stable coin and doing electronic purchase with my dollars. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, and here's the difference. When you use an electronic purchase on your dollars, either your credit card or your debit card or an ACH or a wire, the card networks and or the Federal Reserve has that data, and I say fly over the top of them. It's not their
I see.
business. If you're not committing a crime, why should the Federal Reserve know how much money you sent?
So,
Okay,
so how come the federal government doesn't know about stablecoin?
They do know about it.
Regulation.
They do know about it, but they can't stop it because it's on the blockchain. And so
It's
while
on the blockchain.
100%. Yeah, it's all on the blockchain. So, and the good thing about the blockchain is you can't lie. You could say the check's in the mail, the wire
Yeah.
sent, I'm sorry you didn't get it. The blockchain tells you exactly if it's been sent. They just don't know who sent it. And that's the beautiful thing about
That's what actually protects and gives you anonymity.
100%.
It's because of the blockchain.
Yep. And then you can take
Interesting.
so if you open up an account at Old Glory Bank, it takes 8 minutes, oldglorybank.com. You're then going to, once next quarter, you'll be able to immediately convert that and put money on the chain from our app and get our stable coin, OGB USD. And then you can send it anywhere in the world. If someone has a self-custodial wallet, they download it, they can send it, it's on the ERC20, so you can transfer it to something else, or you could send it and spend it. So that will get rid of the dollars, but it's backed by dollar, so it doesn't go up and down in price.
Very, very interesting. I got to do more research in that. Thank you for that information.
Decentralized finance is the true pathway to freedom, and especially in the kingdom.
Okay. Very cool. Do you guys? It sounds like you guys have some sort of PayPal competitor. You guys have like a Stripe competitor.
So that's good. So great question. That's a Stripe is really a fancy gateway, and then they do a
And
nice.
that's the problem. They do a great job.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do a nice job, and they have merchant processing. And so simultaneously, right now we're an issuer of debit and credit cards on the Mastercard network. And even though, listen, I beat up on Mastercard and Visa because of their stances on some of these issues, but they've actually been a good partner to us. We are currently becoming an acquirer of Mastercard and Visa, so we can take credit cards and offer it to our business clients. And so we are going to create our own gateway. It's going to have Mastercard, Visa, and most importantly, stable coin and crypto so that you can participate in the blockchain.
So my question on that would be, because there's so many, I love working with Christian companies. Love doing it. Love trying to find Christian companies that can work, that kind of thing. There's no payment processing Christian company that I can work with because they aren't as easy to work with as Stripe is. Because what Stripe does, when you sign up, they immediately back your account.
Yep.
And it's not that I'm looking, to fraud anybody out, but it's like the paperwork that I got to go through to sign up with one of the other accounts besides Stripe, it's just frustrating. It's like 2 days
Yep.
worth of work. You understand, you know what I'm talking about. But Stripe has made it so easy. Plus, the dashboard so user friendly. Is that where you guys are going?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, and which is why if you open an account today, when we were starting Old Glory Bank, we said our competitor is not Chase. Our competitor is Netflix, Amazon, the best user interface out there. And if you use our bank app,
That's right.
we have that user interface. And by the way, there's some good friends of ours over here, Revere Payments. If you you wanted to be a Christian processor today, I would totally recommend them. We do some business together, and we're definitely going to keep doing it. But what you're talking about is exactly what we're creating, a Stripe competitor. But you need to have an issuing bank, because if the bank's not behind it, they can cancel you. And that's why we as Old Glory Bank have to become the acquirer and the issuer, and that's what we're doing.
Correct. That's correct. Oh,
So, Mike,
Mark, you're
Mike.
Mike, still Mike.
I introduced you as Mark.
It's okay.
You're stuck. You know what happened was, I think your name got put in my notes as Mark. I'm so sorry, Mike.
It's all right.
So, Mike,
Ridiculous.
how is Old Glory Bank not going to eventually go woke?
Yeah, that's a great question.
How is it going to stay true to its mission?
Yeah.
Because I think when you think banking too, that's one of the other things I think about is longevity.
Yep.
I mean that's why
Federal Bank.
banks are called things like Federal and Covenant and all these things like that, because it's like I'm thinking long term.
Safety.
I'm thinking about my grandkids and my great grandkids. So what protections are in place so that it will have that kind of longevity? So if I switch over and I've got investments connected to it or whatever, I know that my grandkids and my great grandkids are going to be safe.
That is a great question, and I'm not sure if I have it figured out as I sit here today, and here's why.
Yeah.
My wife and I started it. We're the largest investors in the bank by a factor of 3. Our whole life is in this bank, and we were at a spot in our life where we shouldn't have done it. We're like ready to retire. I used to have a really good life. Now I work 80 hours a week, doing everything I can to fight for our customers and take care of it. We create a culture, and only really 2 people come work at Old Glory Bank, and I meet everybody. And we have 85 people right now, and I always have the same conversation. I always say, I don't care who you voted for, but unless you believe in the greatness of this country, and I don't care what side of the issue you are on important things like abortion and so forth, although most people do agree what we do on this issue, unless you believe in the greatness of this country and you believe in the Constitution, you are not going to work here and you will not be happy. And so far, we've only had like 2 people screw up that answer, and everyone else, has said yes, but we hire from within. But, it's a very difficult question today because we're all here today knowing that we lost Charlie Kirk and how he set this up to continue.
Right.
I've Charlie Kirk owned that business longer than we've only been at this 3 years. I'm not sure if I have that figured out yet, but I will.
Yeah. Well, I think that's been one of the things. I mean, those of us who love America, who love what God has done here, and see that so many of the institutions have fallen.
Yeah.
I mean, universities in particular. I mean, that's why Charlie Kirk's legacy is so great, because he was going into the belly of the beast. He was going to the place that was indoctrinating our children in these pagan ideologies. But I think that's kind of the nut that conservatives really have to crack, is figuring out. And we can ultimately say, this is dependent on God's mercy. It's God has to be merciful and kind, and we have to trust that. But I also think we need to get smarter.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be thinking about the future, thinking about generations, and putting firewalls in place that say, even if it's a self-destruct kind of thing, where it's like, if the board is, goes, over,
if they go woke,
50% is woke,
we're selling and closing down the bank.
The company closes down. I mean, a friend of mine has said that, in every faithful institution that went liberal or went woke, there was some moment in a board meeting where everybody decided that it was more important to continue to exist
That's right.
than to be faithful.
That's right.
But what they should have decided was it'd be better for us not to exist than to be unfaithful, because now we're going to start spreading this unfaithfulness. And I think it's something that conservatives have to figure out. I mean, I'm super glad that there are Christians in the banking industry who are being thoughtful, who see the way that we're being attacked. But I do think that all of us in our various spheres have to figure out, okay, how am I going to secure this, and at least put, some kind of, safeguards in here, firewalls or self-destruct mechanisms that say, if this goes over a certain line or something, it would be better for it to stop existing than to become an instrument of our enemies.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to give you 3 current thoughts on that. One is I'm only 60 and I'm pretty healthy, so hopefully I have another 30 years ahead of me.
Praise God, man. Yes, let's go. Yeah.
So we're good. And my wife is
100.
And my wife's 13 years younger than me and works as hard as I do. And so we have that. 2 is one of the reasons why we have opened up our ownership to our customers. We have 6,600 investors at Old Glory Bank, and not one of them does not live on Main Street. We're probably the only startup, fast-growing business. I always say we're a tech company that happens to own a bank with values, and that doesn't have a single VC dollar, does not have a single institutional dollar. We are owned by the people. We're Main Street, not Wall Street, and that's not going to change even though we have something big happening. 2 is and I have been preaching this, when I was raising money for Old Glory Bank to start it, I was very disappointed with the amount of focus and organized Christian and faith-based dollars that want to invest in startups and to help us do it. And then I figured out why. By conservative nature, you are conservative with your money. It's all the liberals and the hard left that all do the high-flying investments because that's who they are. And so I have told everyone in our company, including people working in the call center in Durant, Oklahoma, has equity. They're all going to be millionaires when this is over. And I told them that you've got to take this money and pay it forward and help support other Christian and conservative companies, because we have got to create a source for this.
Part of my analysis in this is that my dad's generation, my dad died in 2012. He was 61 or 63. I can't remember. Sorry, Mom. But his parents came out of kind of the Great Awakening, not the Great Awakening.
Great Depression.
Great Depression.
The Great Awakening. 1800s Great Awakening.
Different century.
Yeah, Great Depression. and so I think his generation was particularly conservative.
Yeah.
Because job security, I think, was their most wanted, desired thing. Because, like, Great Depression, right? So it logically makes sense. But what that meant is that I think a lot of conservatives in that generation would go to work for the guys creating and taking the risk, or would build up their business and go and sell it to kind of do that big cash out.
Yep.
That's kind of summarizing. Maybe it's not a fair summary all the way around, obviously, but I think my dad's generation was not a risky generation.
You're right.
And then now we're kind of stuck trying to either buy the infrastructure, build the infrastructure, or come up with a way where we don't get canceled anymore.
Amen.
Right. And so, but I want to ask, this is more of a regulatory question here, but how much are you doing to fight the regulations? Because here's part of the problem that we're in is, like, I can't start a bank, right? I have to get, what I think is like minimum like $60 million to start a state charter or something. I forget.
Today probably 100.
Yeah, probably something like that, right? And then that's just getting enough money. That's not
By the way,
even.
I got through on 12, and it will never happen again, and it never happened before me.
12 what?
12 million.
That's what, to buy Old Glory?
To buy the bank and get through with a new. Because we did a change of business when we bought the little bank in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and so they treated us like a new bank, and it's because God was on our shoulder.
Yeah.
Everyone told me I couldn't do it. The regulators told me I couldn't do it, and I just said yes, we will. And we pushed through in 5 months.
Amazing.
Most people take 18 months.
Yeah.
I knew that God had a plan
Yeah.
for us,
Yeah.
and then we've since went out and raised. So we've raised from America $52 million to date.
Yeah.
Our deposits when we bought the bank had 10 million. We're now 240 million. We're one of the fastest growing banks ever in 3 years.
Awesome.
It's all because of the people here and,
Yeah.
and people like you getting the word out.
Yeah. Awesome.
So what are you doing to fight the regulations?
So
He started bragging about himself. No.
So if you go and watch me on that Senate hearing, I say right there in front of all the senators, I am the only banker that stands between America and the regulators, and I am not backing down. I had been open less than 3 months, and the regulators sent in all their top people, try to get me to change course, try to get me to stop talking about this is during Biden. I would not stop talking about we will not cancel people, we will not debank people, and they tried to run me off, and I wouldn't do it. And so listen, today I would submit to you I have a pretty good relationship with it because they understand me. I really am fighting for America.
Yeah.
And this is why I am so upset at the big banks lying. Right now, the big banks, Moynihan, Jamie Dimon, the folks at PNC, the folks at Capital One, they're all saying that the regulators made them deep bank Christians. They made them deep bank, and I'm here to stick up for the regulators, which is not like me.
Yeah.
And I am saying they did not make you. I am subject to the exact same laws as you are, and never once. The regulators beat me up for other things, but never once did they say you can't bank
This
too.
guy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so I know these banks are lying, and I'm asking. In fact, I went online and went on a couple of shows and challenged Patrick Moynihan to a $100,000 bet. The man up, and we would give it to a charity of his choice. It was my money. It was not the bank's money.
Yeah.
To name one regulator who ever told you to not bank Donald Trump, and he won't do it because he is lying. And he didn't bank Donald Trump because he didn't want to bank Donald Trump.
Wow. Okay. Last question here. This kind of goes back to Toby's question a little bit. Southwest Airlines started as a cowboy airline industry.
Herb Keller, one of the greatest CEOs
You
of
know,
all
all
time.
you're from Oklahoma, you're close to Southwest, all that Texas, yeah.
And they lost their way.
And yeah, that's where I'm going with this. He fought the system, the man, the regulators so hard. And as a freedom-minded constitutionalist, he was right. Right. But now they've caved. I mean, I was so frustrated with them with COVID.
Yeah.
Like, you guys fought, to be who you are today. And COVID's nothing compared to the fight that you took to get to where you're at.
Yeah.
And everything. How can I trust that Old Glory will be a fighting bank for Christian values and for American conservative constitutional freedom values?
Okay, so
in the next 50.
So all the answers I have, this is still one I don't have figured out, and I'm sorry. And I'm telling you the truth.
Thank you for that honesty.
Yeah.
Very much.
No, listen. If you think imagine if Tesla lost Elon Musk, could you imagine if Steve Jobs died when he did? There are certain founder-led companies that if they don't have it figured out before that founder goes, it doesn't work out. And Southwest is one of them. And I commit to you all that I will figure this out before I die.
we're gonna have Mike back on.
We need
and we'll give you a few years.
when you're on your deathbed.
No. Sooner than that, you got to figure it out while you're
yeah.
healthy and strong and in your right mind.
Let's talk next year, and I'll have a better answer.
Let's do it.
I love that. Yeah. Man, it's really good to meet you, Mike.
No, it's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. You guys were fighting the fight long before we are. You've been in the fight for a long time.
Well, thank you for putting so much on the line, though. And so people that want to sign up or want to find out more, they go to
oldglorybank.com. It's so easy to remember. I think remember all the New York agencies who tried to get our business when we were launching said, you can't use Old Glory. It's a terrible name. Do something like Dave or something hip. And I said, no, it is Old Glory Bank, baby. It's about America. It's about the flag.
Yeah.
That's
Amen.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. God bless.